This is the Extremists podcast. I'm your host, Alex. I'm the center position. If you're listening to this on YouTube or any other platform that has video or audio together, which I believe is only YouTube at this time, you should see a graphic, either our logo or some microphones or something like that. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, or any other listening device platform that is audio only, we will be having a brief introduction at the beginning, and we'll try to do that canonically with each episode. You remember that you don't need to watch these in order. You can jump right into the newest episode. You can watch them from the beginning if you'd like to see our delve into insanity, but we'll be just as insane as we are in episode 1, I hope. So starting off today's show, we'd like to just introduce each host, have them state their ideology, a little bit about that ideology, and how they got there. So we're going to start with Micah, our author-right. Micah, what do you identify with?
So I'm a paleoconservative, and pretty much conservatism on steroids. I'm an advocate for traditionalism. I support laissez-faire economy with environmental regulations. I'm an isolationist. I don't think we should bomb brown children in the Middle East for Israel shekels. And I'm a nationalist and a Christian.
Okay. Ava, would you like to explain your off-the-left positioning?
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. So I would best describe myself as a Stalinist, but of course that kind of gives people a negative kind of connotation, but most of the time I end up just saying national communist, something along those lines. We're not gonna go and say Nazbol because we can't do that here. But yeah, basically, I honor tradition. I am proud of my ancestors and believe that everybody, regardless of nationality, should be proud of those who came before them. And I believe that the economy should be very planned and run by the state.
Interesting. Okay. Cole, would you like to go next? Mr. Liberate, opposite of off left.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm pretty much a ANCAP, so anarcho-capitalist. I believe in total liberty and total individual freedom. Pretty much individual rights trump every other group or society or anything. I've got there through, I started as a pretty much where Micah was, neocon, and through a lot of inner dialogue and Socratic method, pretty much came down to how do I be the most consistent with and go to the logical conclusion of rights, and that's where I got here now. So pretty much I'm just kind of like fuck the state. So
okay, interesting.
That's an inappropriate word.
It's an inappropriate word.
I know the state is a terrible word.
No!
But you guys actually think society wouldn't collapse without rules? I thought you were joking.
Oh my God.
So August, lib left, how would you like to explain your views?
Hi, I'm August. I am the lib left host here, and it's really like the only thing that's really keeping my ideology from being like one of the mainstream, just like just another ANCOM, is like it's really just like real small minutia of it. I like to say that I am a mutual collectivist, like just the idea of communities on a small scale being able to sustain themselves, but then also come together for like any like sort of national, but like very, very, very rare will it ever like come together on a national, like a federal level. And yeah, that's the hard and fast of what I believe, really. How I got here, I started off Librite a couple years ago. I was just another kid watching like Ben Shapiro compilations and just like, oh yeah, guys, feminist wrecked. And then like I slowly became more and more. I feel like compassionate is too strong of a word. Just more aware that I'm not the only human in the room and that other people are also worth like consideration. I just like slowly became more and more on the left side of things. So yeah.
Okay.
I forgot to say how I got here.
Go ahead.
Wow.
It's a long and arduous road.
Would you like to explain it?
Sure. I mean, It all started in 2016 when a guerrilla no when the election guerrilla war. No, it all started in 2016 during the election. I really like Donald Trump for some reason. I think it's because most of the people at my school did. And then I kind of started realizing that that probably wasn't cool and I was just trying to be edgy. But then I realized that I thought that it was cool and I got into Ben Shapiro and I became hardcore, just super owning the libs and just hypothetically speaking, all of
Base.
that. Yeah, and then I kind of had a slow return to the left. We're not going to talk about the alt-right phase. It never happened. Anyways, yeah, that's how I got here.
Authoritarian
Don't
censorship.
talk about that. Micah, I
That
was
one. Oh, that one. Okay.
That one.
that one.
That one.
Okay. And then I'm Alex, the center position. I'm a radical centrist. I know, cringe, ew. Radical centrism is an ideology that really emerged in the late 20th century. It kind of refers to a willingness, so the radical part of radical centrism refers to reforming certain institutions and parts of government. Personally, I think that the prison reform, drug reform, education reform are the biggest things, and you'll see that commonly, especially education reform. With radical centrists, you also see voting reform. I don't completely understand that. I've never understood the radical centrist argument for it, but I can see how one would get behind it. The centrism part refers to a belief that genuine solutions require pragmatism over emotions, and that sounds like facts over feelings with extra steps. I promise it's not. And
Or is it?
that's
so
things
it is
like
feelings.
most radical centrists you'll see are socially right, economically left. I think I'm a little
I'm
bit.
the opposite.
I'm.
Yeah, it was me for a while.
I kind of sit on the bubble on most things. On my 9 values results, all of them are center. But I kind of view myself almost as an anti-centrist because I have opinions that are all over the spectrum. I don't really have anything that's in the middle necessarily, except for economics, because that always works, as we've seen with the neoliberal handling of that. How I got there, I was a California liberal, and then when Donald Trump was elected, I was told to write a. You remember that travel ban that happened the day after he was elected?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was I was supposed to write an essay on it and how I felt, and I wrote how I was neutral on it because I wanted to see how it would play out, and I was failed on the essay, and I was told to write a better hit piece, and that made me become much more conservative as I kind of woke up from the indoctrination of California schools. And then I kind of started realizing conservatism was kind of cringe in a lot of aspects, at least in my opinion. So I kind of went to the center. I don't like either side. I think extremism can be extremely dangerous in most concepts.
Extremely
but I think
dangerous.
pulling things from the left and the right and in a lot of different ways can help better society. So that's me. So we thought
Alex
we would
be like,
open.
I'm an extreme centrist.
I am an
also
extreme
extremism
centrist.
Bad.
Oh. I'm a walking contradiction, and it works.
I am extremely against extremism.
Excuse me, all customers. Attention, all customers. There is a mixed race couple on aisle 3. So usually we want to end the podcast with a few questions, but we thought for today, as we're introducing this kind of concept that we answer questions, we thought we would answer one at the beginning. Now there's a lot of questions here, and there's a lot to unpack.
Do the
And there's
do-rag
a
one.
few- do the do-rag one. Will you be making merch? So you gotta have them branded
Just the hard
durags,
yes from
aka
everyone.
silkies. Durags at 2K. I already announced that. You would know that if you followed the social media.
Oh yeah.
Which you should.
Which you should, and join our Discord. We have 2 people in this Discord that are both named If Socialism Was a Beer.
Darn
I'm
right.
saying, if socialism was a beer.
If socialism was a beer.
We also have somebody saying poopcock.
Oh,
Now we
wait,
have a
what?
lot. That was me.
What?
So I think a good one was the 2020 capitalist crises disguised by the coronavirus. I think that's an interesting one.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good one. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Cole. Would you like to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll go first. So I think pretty much it comes down to that the government really fucked us over from the beginning. First off, they had a really bad start with the coronavirus, and then they went so they were like, okay, let's just not do anything, which pretty much I'm kind of for. And then they went totally to the other side of like, let's lock everything down, and then now people are surprised that the economy is failing. Like we just saw a 33% drop in GDP over this quarter from last year, and it's the largest drop since like 1947. There's really, if you're saying that we were in a bubble, I can agree with that. We have been in a bubble since we've been going up since the mid Obama years, and pretty much we've seen. Pretty much we've seen a crash in the U.S. about every 10 to 12 years, and so we're right on time for that, since the last one happened in 2008. But I think that COVID and what the government did just blew it out of the water, and we're going to see something even worse going forward than we ever had seen before, really. So
Yet you still support capitalism. Okay.
I'm saying it's the government's fault. Like, it's
Yeah,
not
it's the government
capitalism.
intervention in
Like,
capitalism.
I think
It's
I've
not
noticed-
capitalism on its own.
It's like you see when people discuss like, oh, the government needs more involvement or less involvement. We see a lot of like people say the economy is bad, the way we're doing capitalism is bad, or the way we're doing economics is bad. And we see a lot of people who are on the left say, no, we need more government involvement. And then other people are saying the solution is to have less government involvement. I think that the kind of, not even balance, it's not even really a balance, just the shitty way the government handles
They
economics.
just freaking flip
And
flop.
they just-
flip
it's
flop,
bad.
and it screwed us over.
oh yeah,
And-
and it's all really kind of arbitrary too. Like the things they kind of put, it's like you can't, like, I know for a fact that there's things where you can't go and get a drink. You can't go and get like a beer at a bar unless you eat food. So it's like, okay, we can somehow the coronavirus is okay if you're eating food, but if you're just having a drink, it's not okay. And like there's these arbitrary rules all over the place, and it's just made businesses just like be like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Like we can't do anything and we can't sell anything, and people don't want to come here. And I think all of that, especially in California and New York, I'm trying to think if there's any other states that were really bad, but have just like really cracked down and made it even worse. So,
I personally think that obviously the United States has done not much good, but again, they've really left it up to the specific states to decide what like the regulations are. And as somebody who believes in a very centralized government, I see that it's not working well, and I think there should be a certain percentage in place to kind of say, if this percent, like there's been this percent of an increase, or there's this many people per 100,000 people who are infected, take this precaution, and so on and so forth, in that kind of manner. But it's just, especially in Iowa, they have not done anything, and we're seeing the worst set of cases that we have seen in like since what, May or something like that. Like it's just been getting worse.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the main issue in this is that, like, as a nation, we've slowly gone from being just like a loose collective of states to like more and more we've been relying on the federal government to do everything for us. And then like as a people, you would think, everyone has the common sense, hey, this is killing a lot of people, we should all stay home. And then everyone just doesn't do that, and they look towards like a big brother to tell them what to do.
Yeah,
And then
which is
that big
actually
brother-
stupid.
Yeah. They're always like, everyone's just like looking to be told what to do, but then the second that they're actually told what to do, they're like, oh, well, now I don't want to do it. Like, everyone just wants to complain in America. Nobody actually
Everyone-
wants to be part of the solution.
Yeah, everybody in America has, what do they call it? The oppositional defiant disorder. Everyone.
I think
Every
that's
single-
purely because of the bipartisan bullcrap we have here.
Oh yeah, bipartisan.
Yeah, if we just
Oh,
got rid of
yeah.
Republicans, it'd be
If
better.
we just Republicans and Democrats are both
Get rid of
terrible.
both.
Just get rid of
They're
both,
both awful.
please.
Which I think a lot
Or
of
just
people
merge them. Just merge them.
No.
Like,
Same
I-
party anyways.
I really think it should come down to people. I mean, you're gonna be surprised, but individuals make their own risks. Like you take a risk anytime you go outside anyway. And I,
that's like a good idea for everything that isn't a pandemic, because when I go out and I have it, not only am I risking myself, I'm risking every other person within like sneezing distance.
but everybody else is taking that risk to go out too.
They're also risking themselves when they go outside too.
Yeah,
I work with elderly people. And so I see it firsthand. Fortunately, the facility that I work in has not been infected with COVID yet, but unfortunately, a lot of the facilities in the area have. And so, yes, I'm taking a risk by going to work every day, but under this capitalist system, that's what I have to do in order to be able to pay for things that I need to pay for.
Exactly. Yeah, but you've also seen businesses take some of the best precautions on stopping people from coming in without masks, on social distancing. Even like I'm pretty sure before the government got involved, businesses were. You can look back and see that businesses were already saying, "Hey, we're going to start social distancing just by the guidelines the CDC set down, but not by the mandates the government."
Yeah, because
set down.
they knew that if they didn't stop the coronavirus, well, frickin' their businesses would be screwed. So
right, and
they're also in there trying to help with it too.
No, but the moment that all of the Iowa businesses opened back up, they had all of the mask precautions. They said you can't come in if you don't have a mask, that kind of stuff. But it wasn't
they
required.
opened up because frickin' they were desperate for profit after the government didn't close them down.
Exactly, but the problem is the moment they opened it back up, guess what happened? The cases spiked again.
Yeah, but you can say, I mean, I understand all the cases spiking, but you also have to look at the death rate too. I mean, I think that's a very large thing that people just kind of go, "Oh, the case is spiking." It's like, "Oh, well, look at the death rate; it's going down." Like,
but like you being hospitalized for something it's not recorded as a death, but you're still like completely immobilized from like you
And
being
it's
attached to a
expensive.
ventilator.
But it's not all of them are even hospitalized.
Oh, he's not dead. He's just like an inch from life, you guys. Come on,
Right,
go back
but
to
and
it's
gonna
not
have
even
to
that.
pay-
Like a lot of people don't even get hospitalized. I mean, they would go take a test and be like, "Oh, I was positive." Like,
Okay, I've read that the hospitalization rate is between 15 and 20%. So if there's like 6 million cases in America, or like it's in the millions somewhere. 20% of a million, if it's over 5 million, is already 1 million people that are in the hospital.
Does that mean that 50 to 80% aren't hospitalized?
I'd imagine that's what that means.
Great. Glad we're on the same page.
20% of the people with a disease in the hospital is probably not a good thing.
Right,
Just
and another
saying.
thing is
Yeah,
that,
but
like,
that was
with
the whole. Go
the
ahead.
American health, I'm going to speak. Like with the American healthcare system, it's so expensive that a lot of these people, the moment they get out of the hospital, they're gonna have to go back to work immediately, and they can risk infecting other people because hospital bills are just so high here. Like in other countries where they have a free healthcare system, a universal healthcare system, you can see that the cases have dropped, and people in Australia and New Zealand have already gone back to school.
Their healthcare system is actual garbage.
It's terrible. You know, I had a buddy of mine who lives in Canada, and he somehow got like a rail nail or like a railroad nail. Somehow, you know those big old spikes. I think it's a rail spike, actually, is what it's called. Yeah, and he got one of those like in his leg, and he couldn't get proper treatment for 6 weeks.
Jesus.
It was terrible. So you have to weigh, because the argument is that as a single healthcare provider or payer, the government forces hospitals to charge less and still provide that same amount of treatment.
Okay, wait. If we're getting into there, we're also going to have to look at the Americans' like incessant need to be able to sue doctors under the malpractice insurance that is required to be renewed every year at roughly like $1 million per like actual licensed doctor.
Just to renew that
But you also have to think about just how shitty, like, even because our system isn't capitalist at all. Like, really, it's not. Like,
it's referred to as a mixed economy system in a business course. It's referred to as a mixed economy system where we have capitalism with quote socialist tendencies, like they pay for school, taxpayers, but you got school, police, firefighters, that sort of thing.
And it really sucks. Like, I mean, there are people that have big problems with the U.S. system of healthcare, and you can most people say that are for the American healthcare system is that, oh, you have really good service, but it is also super expensive too for some people, which I think there is a better alternative of going fully capitalist, and then we can have both of those things. But this mixed system has just been really shitty on the poor people. And then total
The
socialist and
working
single
class, not the poor people. We say the
Okay,
working
sorry,
class
the
here.
working class.
We're
Okay.
politically correct here, sir.
Yeah.
At least on
Okay,
camera.
Yes, the middle class also does not work. All right.
Well, I mean, the working
Nobody
class
works.
also,
I know.
it's-
I was yeah. I
it
wasn't being
implies a
serious.
disregard for the lumpen proletariat, but go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, for the lumpen proletariat. Sure, that's what Karl Marx. Y'all seen that Stone Toss comic? The Nazi himself, frickin' Karl Marx wakes up. Frickin' the lumpen proletariat resurrects him. Well,
I have
Karl
no idea
Marx,
what you're
we
talking about right now.
Frick,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about either. I'm gonna be real with you, Micah.
dang. Okay,
But
I'll just shut up.
I just think that when people say like our system sucks, I'm like, yeah, it does, because it's a mixed system and it's just a bureaucratic coming down, but also trying to balance it out, and it's just turned into this weird and gross amalgamation of bureaucracy. And I just think bureaucracy has always slows things down, makes things way less efficient. And to you talking about the doctors having their insurance, I think that is needed, but I also think it's probably also a part of the bureaucracy too, because they're required to have that, are they not?
Oh yeah, they are. But like, if you're gonna get into like the capitalism makes good hospital argument, let's look at how the cure for COVID is already like estimated at being like in the thousands per dose. Meanwhile, it was crowdfunded by the American people.
Yeah, but you also have to look at the FDA and how like the way they do that. I mean, you have to go through each one of these trials, and it so much regulation on it that it is gonna just like make the price go up by a ton, because these companies have to put up all the R&D and then all the time and the effort to get through the FDA. And
Okay,
by
I'm
that
gonna be
time,
honest. I don't have like all of the facts sitting in front of me about how much it costs to make the coronavirus cure, but let's look at the people who have been dying from not having insulin, and then like that price just gets dropped because that's just something the government can do, and they've just been letting people die from that in the great capitalist society that we live in. And then like in light of COVID, they want to have a little PR stunt by lowering the price so that people don't die from lack of insulin.
yeah, but I think that's the whole.
Capitalism. It is when virus.
But I think that's the whole problem, is that the government is involved in the first place. Like, yes, they can artificially raise and lower the price, but if they can do like, that's the actual problem, because now these companies have to listen to what the government says, and so usually the government's saying you have to do this, 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 and have all these regulations on you, and then you still have to keep the price low, and then they're just not making any money. But it also, I mean, their regulations also keep out all the general, like your general medications instead of your general prescriptions instead of your what I don't know what the
I don't know,
name
just like
brand
something
prescription.
about like the thought process that the guy making a drug to save my life is motivated by like a profit bottom line rather than a hey, let's save as many people as we can. That sort of, I don't know, that gives me the heebie-jeebies as an individual, you know. That just kind
Yeah.
of makes me feel a little small in the system.
That
Well,
kind of
but
comes down to like the human nature argument, because I mean, well, I believe humans are naturally selfish, naturally evil. So,
Yeah.
so, I mean, people are gonna be looking out for what they want for themselves, that not for other people, and that it's not a good thing, but it is a reality.
I
Like,
see
you
that's
can't change it.
I see again, like you guys said, I believe that every human is evil at their core. I would like to assume that education and like, you know, like being raised outside of a capitalist system where the goal is to get as high as you can while also pushing as many people down, but you also have to look good for PR so that you're marketable. I don't know. I feel like if people weren't raised in that system where like their future is, hey, let's go produce as much value as possible for other people so then we can have a sliver of that value. I don't know. I feel like that something in that system kind of makes people not like wake up every day with a smile on their face.
Well, I don't think
So-
it's just that. Oh, go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Well, because I've been listening a lot. I don't know a lot about the COVID stuff necessarily. I know that I've been kind of hearing bits and pieces of it, and that's partially my own fault because I think that getting too much information in that regard can be really fucking annoying. I would be real.
Yeah.
And it's been getting really annoying when I have people telling me in one ear, COVID reports are being fully pushed out of the water, and they were over-reporting. And you see that with like some Florida hospitals were reporting 100% COVID positivity, and then they were called on it, and then they said it was like 92, but it was actually like 9.4% or something like that. Because when you incentivize hospitals and you say, hey, you need a test, but we'll kick you some extra bucks if you get a positive test, that incentivizes them to be positive. It's like when you go to a organization and you say, hey, we want you to study this, but we'll pay you more if you get the result that we like. They're gonna fucking give you the result that they like.
Didn't they do that with Coca-Cola being healthy or something?
Oh, I think they did. I don't know.
I think that's the thing that they paid Coca-Cola to like.
I mean, if you want to look at
Coca-Cola
something,
paid the doctors to say it's healthy.
Look at the the whole tobacco industry and what they did too. Like for years, they were saying to like getting people to say that tobacco was good for, like, smoking cigarettes was good for you. Like it's just
you smoke it after a meal, yeah.
But
if we want to push it,
being bad.
if we want to push that argument of kind of morality, and go into the ideas of morality and whether people are born naturally good or evil, because I think there are some decent arguments on both sides. We won't know a centrist moment. I do agree with the idea that humans are naturally evil and selfish. I don't think that you should automatically put the blame on capitalism. I think that to put the blame on capitalism gives the impression, or at least the heavy implication, that your preferred economic system is much better. I think that in any economic system, you are going to have corruption. You're going to have bad people. We've seen that. You can make the argument that. Go ahead with what you're saying.
kind of going back to you had said about how the companies want to do this just for profit, and I don't think that's totally true. I think in the company you have multiple different types of people and have different roles. Like the researcher is trying to find something better to better humanity, but you also have the capitalist or the entrepreneur that's saying, how can I fund this and still make my money back and make some more? So, and he's trying to make a profit, but the scientist or the researcher is trying to make something good, but to get it out there and to get the money to do that, you need the capitalist or the entrepreneur to get you there. So I don't think it's just totally, oh, it's just the companies are just there for profit. It's like, I think inside the company you have multiple different things working together, which yes, it does come out to a profit, but when you have a profit incentive and market competition, you'll get a better product in the end than just somebody just trying out for themselves with no money backing and just for the good of humanity. And then once, why would they ever be incentivized to do that beyond just, oh, I did a good thing, now what?
And see, that's the thing. The capitalist ideology completely neglects people's like actual passion in life. Like, let me take you back to a simpler time. I think it was like 2008. I think, don't quote me on that. I was selling candy bars because I'm gonna be honest, like in my youth, I was a very like staunch capitalist. I didn't know the word capitalism, but I liked selling things for money. I liked it's literally the root word to capitalize. Like I like people wanted chocolate, I had chocolate, and that put a smile on my face. I didn't ever keep track of how much money I had. I didn't really have to, because once you know, my parents provided everything that I needed. And that may sound like a very childish way to want the world to stay, because you know, I mean, I was a child, but like in a world where that could be the reality and we blatantly choose not to because reasons, I guess, I don't see how someone could actively choose against that, like working for your passion instead of what you have to do to get by. Like everyone wants to be
that you were a kid.
The also difference is that I mean, you can work for your passion, right? Like anytime anybody can work for their passion, but they also have to eat. I mean, like,
yeah, you
and
said your parents were providing you the supplies and stuff. So the thing is, now you kind of have to like get your own supplies, and supplies isn't just gonna it's not just gonna come to you naturally.
Well, okay, and then we look at how much does a chocolate bar cost to make? It's probably like in like the pennies, right? But I had, as a child, I had to pay for like a whole $1 for a candy bar, and I had to like try and upsell that to make my money back. Meanwhile, that person could have just got 10 cents worth of candy bar from the source.
Then if you make your own candy bars and someone else is selling them for $1, you can sell them for 50 cents if it takes pennies to make, and then you're making a profit.
So why aren't all candy bars 50 cents if they only take a couple cents to make?
Well, because it's cheaper than another. You can, and it still makes money. But if you want to sell more, you can make those cheaper.
It also doesn't
And the
cost
thing-
pennies to
for
make a chocolate
competition.
bar.
That's the thing. Capitalism breeds competition, and can ultimately just make things cheaper because obviously you still want to make a profit, so you still got to make it more, like a little more than what it costs to make. But you can, if someone else is selling it for a high price, and you think, oh, that's a pretty high price to sell something for, you can sell it for lower.
Okay, well,
But
let's
it's
walk
also-
into
there's-
Walmart. Let's walk into Walmart right now. You're right by the cash register. You look at all the candy bars. Every single one of them is going to be between 87 cents and $1.25. I would know because I'm there frequently. I know how much they cost. So why riddle me this? Why hasn't one company out of all of them just like said, hey, you know, we're gonna sell our candy bar for 50 cents, and everyone's gonna flock to it, right? Because that's capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Except for that, you got to think. Okay, usually, you think about everything that goes into making
Okay,
a candy
so
bar. I'm just saying, like,
Corporatism.
well, I mean that, but I'm saying we'll just take it base level, just going off what you said. I guess you're kind of I can't whatever. Fuck it.
My hypothetical.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't think of the word. So a candy bar takes. I mean, you have to have the material to make it. So you have chocolate, nougat, whatever, all that material in there. You have to have the machines to make it. So that takes machines are upfront costs in building the machine, installing the machine, and then also you have your cost of going forward in maintaining that machine. You also have each worker there that has to get paid also. So they have some kind of salary. It's like $10 an hour. So they have $10 an hour salary. You have to put in $10,000 a year to maintain these machines. The machines up front cost $200,000 to do that, and then you also have to ship from your factory to the seller or something. So you have that cost in those the driver and everything else with that. Plus, then you have all the management and how much they have to make. The R&D and going to trying to find new different things you can do with candy bars. Your ad development. So all these things come together. It's more than just it costs. It costs 50 cents to make. Why don't you sell it at 52 cents? It's like, well, if I sell it at 52 cents, I'm losing. It actually costs me 90 cents to do everything from beginning to end. It costs me 90 cents. So if I sell at 52, yes, everybody's going to buy my candy bar, but I'm losing money every candy bar I make.
See, that makes sense, but I still don't agree with the whole concept because that shouldn't have to be the case, you know? Because, like, the way I see it is that it shouldn't have to be the case. Nobody's jobs or lives should have to be, like, livelihood should have to be put at risk because of the price of a candy bar. Like, the fact that this is such a monumental thing in a capitalist society over a candy bar, and it's just astonishing. Like, it's just shouldn't have to be that way, and that's just the way I see it. But like, it's a candy bar. Like, there's so many.
But it's not just
Other
the candy;
things
it's
to worry
everything.
about.
It's
Okay,
the chair you
well,
sit in,
look
it's the
at-
phone you're using. I mean,
Look at everyone who's involved in that, from like the lowest worker to like the highest
Exactly.
elite guy. Why do they all make
Exactly.
different amounts of money? If they all made the same wage
Because-
and that was a livable wage, it probably wouldn't be as expensive. I'm gonna tell you right there. It just
so I
wouldn't
mean,
be.
because it's about assuming risk. So pretty much easy
Assuming
thing to
risk until the company or the government bails you out, of course. Let's
But
keep that
that's
in
not
mind.
but that's not
we're both
capitalism.
against
Like,
it. Yeah, that's
yeah, like
corporatism.
everybody's against that. Like, that's we can both
Like,
agree. That's
nobody likes that.
like, I think companies should fail. I 100% think if a company does bad and they treat their workers horribly and they don't pay enough, and then like they try to undercut somebody else and they all fail, it should fail because a better company will come up after that. But when you bail it out, that company is just incentivized to just keep doing their shitty way and then never change. I don't know if you want to go, but assuming risk is really like the big thing. So there's actually a really good thought experiment about this. So hold on, y'all can talk. I won't bring this up because I have it written down, but y'all can continue on going somewhere else, and I'll kind of find this.
See, like,
I
the
just-
thing is that, like, in a capitalist system, I think that what he's saying does make a lot of sense. Like, it does. It genuinely makes a lot of sense, and he has basis to go off of that. But I just don't think the capitalist system is the way because it just exploits so many people. And sure, maybe a better company would come along, but either way, it's still exploitation of the workers, and it's still unfair treatment. There's always going to be unfair treatment, regardless of how quote unquote ethical it may seem on the surface level.
could I say the same thing about every other economic system? There will always be exploitation,
Not necessarily.
whether it comes from
Absolutely
the government.
necessarily. Are you implying that it wasn't real socialism, it wasn't real communism? Is that, I just want to clarify what you're saying.
Well, see, that's the thing is like it operate that line of thought is valid in systems where there is like a way to achieve more value over other people. Like you're putting a lot of stock in the
which is
US dollar.
every system.
I
There will
wouldn't
always
agree.
be a way.
There really wouldn't.
Name me a system where there would be no way to achieve more power over another.
Mutual collectivism.
Something that ideologically doesn't
Okay,
work past a
And
certain
does
frame.
mutual collectivism, does that have a government system?
Not really, no.
So if I own a farm and I say, hey, person, you there, I will give you some of my food if you come and farm on my land. And suddenly I now have I now have a higher position over that one person.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
So like I said, there will always be quote unquote exploitation.
You're looking for it though. You're looking for the worst in the system. And
Shouldn't you always do
what I
that?
said
I feel like you
was
should always do
there-
that if you-
there
if
will
you-
always be exploitation. So of course I'm going to have to look into the worst because it is there.
I mean, I imagine so, but like when you're looking at the system that we're in right now, the system that I would imagine we all oppose to it. I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like becoming more aspect that defines system that we all oppose probably isn't the solution.
So, kind of coming back into this. So, this is pretty much a thought experiment on exploitation of the workers, because you hear that a lot. I mean, I know Ava said it, and I know kind of August kind of believes kind of the same thing. Which, side note, anarchy and how I believe it would be okay with August and what he believes in existing. It would just be like he has a community, which August already has said this, that he believes in small communities that work together and pretty much are self-sufficient, and that's exactly what anarchism says. It's like there should be no one government controlling everybody. It should be communities that come together, kind of do what they want to do. You do this, we do this. Whoever comes out on top is better, whatever. You can move around. But that's kind of a side note. But this kind of looks about just wage slaves in factories. So it could be any type of factory. Like they create phones, trinkets. It doesn't really matter. So you would have your wage slave, which I will just hop on a wage slave, and he makes like $10 an hour. Well, he makes a trinket that sells, whenever it's done, it sells for $11 an hour. So technically, according to any type of the exploitation of the workers, he's being exploited $1 an hour out of his work, because he puts in an hour and he gets paid $10, but whenever it comes out at the end, it gets sold for $11 an hour, and he loses $1 in there somewhere. But when you think about it, it's the wage slave is actually being paid for like a future revenue his output is assumed to produce. So this context points just to a couple different considerations. Sorry, I'm kind of reading this because I had this like written down. So a worker is going to be paid the present value of the future assumed revenue. This is totally reasonable, as $1 now is worth more than the promise of $1 in the future. The worker is bearing little to no market risk for his output. He is not bearing the risk in the abstract. His pay doesn't change because his output didn't sell as well as expected. Nor is he bearing the literal risk. He did not actually put up the cost of doing the work, the trinket or the materials. So he hasn't put anything in. He just gets paid out off the output, and it doesn't change no matter the output unless they literally actually failed it. But and then so the reality is that a worker could be paid some amount less than the value of his output, not because he's being exploited, but in fact to shift the future value of his production to the present while reducing the risk and volatility of his income. Which I don't know if all this makes sense, but that's kind of like a short thing about how wage exploitation isn't really true if you really think about it.
I don't know.
No, I think I've really thought about it a lot. So,
Everything you just said does not matter.
I mean, I was taking it all in and I was like trying to comprehend it, but if you look at it, where does most of the money go back to? It goes back to the people who
The
run the
person
company.
that gave them a job, yeah.
Yeah, like again,
Exactly.
the worker doesn't assume it. Like he isn't putting forward his money to make the thing he's doing, unless he
Neither
actually
does the
is.
founder. Like
He does.
investors exist. LLCs, in order to prevent people who go bankrupt from like actually incurring any of that debt, exist. All of these things that, like you're saying, the big guy in charge, that's his cross to bear. Like it's all hidden behind a paywall in America, so that like people who are like on the base level don't actually know what these things are. But all of those safety nets are in place for the corporate billionaires, millionaires, just even like 100,000aires. Anyone who has like power over everyone else, they have all like access to these like groups of friends who can get them out of these problems.
But that's
Yeah,
kind of not.
I know my fair share of investors, and all they do is they put money into things that they like, so the people who are actually in charge of said companies don't have to actually put as much money into it.
But yeah, those investors put something in, but they also have to weigh the risk. Like they're not just putting money in, being like willy nilly. I mean, you can look at Warren Buffett. I mean, the guy made billions off of investing, but it's not like he was just making like, oh, I like these type of chairs. I'm gonna put money in this type of chair. He's like, no, is this chair gonna actually work well? I'm gonna see what it does, and I'm gonna put money into it. Now they can make more chairs, and then more people can have chairs, and I'm gonna get my investment will get a return, and I'll make more money off of it.
That's fair.
But-
the
but at
person
the same
thinks,
time-
okay, these chairs are gonna work well, and this person's gonna really sell these chairs, and now I'm gonna make money off of something that they did because I thought
Yes.
that
Okay,
it would
then,
work.
then why don't they just make their own chair business?
A lot of people do, then they get squished out by like everyone, all the big businesses at top. Like look at what Amazon right now is doing to mom and pop shops. You really think that's ethical?
But before mom and pop shops, there was Walmart. I mean, it's always has been this
There
thing.
always
of,
have been the bigger distributor, and okay. I've
And
been
then an
listening a
ANCAP
lot more than
society.
I've been speaking. I have a qualm with I'm calling it the wage slave thought experiment, what you just said. I don't know if it has an actual title. I'm just going to call it the wage slave thought experiment. I have a qualm with that in terms of anarchy, but that kind of plays into the non-aggression principle, and I guess that qualm is mainly if he chooses not to pay the wage slave, we'll just call him the wage slave or the worker.
The wagey.
The wage cuck. If he decides not to pay the wage cuck for his time, what does the wage cuck do in an anarchist society?
So pretty much it happens the same way now. You have contracts. Like whenever I got hired, I signed a contract and said, okay, and they said, we'll pay you this, and then you'll get like a raise every this. So, and if they didn't pay me that, I can take them to court and sue them and say, listen, they did not pay me what I was told I was going to get paid.
But in an anarchist society, where's the court?
There are, so in anarchist society,
It's a popularity contest.
It's a popularity contest.
it's a market for courts. So you would have multiple different courts.
Hi, do you work at the? Are you a lawyer
It's
for
five
Burger
star
King
one. I don't
courtroom, or are you a lawyer
popularity
for the Jack in
contest.
the Box courtroom?
Yeah, like
No,
instead of
I'm
playroom.
actually a lawyer for the
But again,
Pepsi courtroom.
So,
But again, let me defend the anarchy. So,
Okay.
it would. I mean, why does there have to be a monopoly on courts? Because there's not really has to be a monopoly on any other type of market. I mean, you can see any other type of business and enterprise can flourish when there is market competition.
Do you want an answer, or are you just asking hypothetically?
Sorry,
'Cause I can
sir.
give you
This
an
is
answer.
actually
No, I'm saying
when
just
building,
of the
I'm saying
Pepsi
competition
law
does-
firm.
when there is no regulation at all on businesses, I feel like there tends to become a monopoly.
Oh,
And it's a
absolutely.
known business
you literally-
strategy to monopolize something and then raise the price on it. That is
Literally find a natural monopoly. Find one.
a natural
out and
monopoly.
A natural monopoly, one that was not either helped or helped by government regulation.
That's
Something
that's a
that in
little
regulation.
hard when we live in a corporatist society.
It's a little hard when
Right.
we work
I'm
when
gonna
we live in
keep
a
it real
corporate
with you.
society. I suppose there's one example you could somewhat use, and Ava, and actually, I think you all, depending on where you live in like the Midwest and stuff, might know about this. We had those mom and pops, especially in like the Midwest, and then we had companies like Walmart. And now we're seeing a little bit more with Dollar General. They come in and they
absolutely.
drive out mom and pops. They're the only place to get goods in town, really, and then they jack up the price. Monopoly. I don't think monopolies are
Supposed to-
ever a good thing.
And
No,
it's
but
supposed to
it's
all be
not monopoly
$1, and then
because
it ends up being like $5, and it's like, wait, y'all were supposed to be Dollar General, but now I'm going in, and it's like $5 General. Like, okay.
Or are you getting
okay,
all these
what you're
generals?
talking about is
The
kind of like
Communist Manifesto, the Dollar General charges you $5.
But again, that's kind of like that's not a monopoly because they don't own they are not the only singular business doing
They're
that
not a
only thing.
monopoly because the government didn't give them money.
No, but what I'm saying is like at the same time in those small towns you still have Amazon. Like you can still buy anything.
Yes,
you might
another
need.
monopoly.
Yeah,
But it's
nobody
not a
likes
monopoly because Amazon
That's a
is
whole separate thing.
like you have Amazon Jet. I mean, there's eBay. There's so many different online sellers. I mean, Amazon is just very large.
But in these small
Okay,
towns
That's
where
the
things
problem.
in these small
But they're
towns where
giving
things
also
like
a
Wi-Fi aren't necessarily communally and easily available, because other companies don't feel that it's profitable to be there. I experienced that. I live like 300 feet from the city limits, and I only get one internet provider, and it's fucking dog shit. My internet will go out 4 times in a day because they don't think it's profitable
we've
to
learned.
provide internet over here. Things like AT&T and other. So I have Frontier. Frontier is absolutely garbage. It's literal. It makes me hate just life when I have to sit here and we have to do a separate take of the fucking podcast. But that's besides the point.
Life. Don't hate life.
That's for
Hate
different
capitalism.
I don't think communism or socialism are necessarily good either. And again, I explained at the beginning of the podcast, I don't think extremism in any combination by itself
Why'd
is
you make
necessarily
this
good.
podcast?
Because it's funny! I had an idea. I sat there in podcast and quarantine and built on it, and then I finally did it, and it is going swimmingly. So I think this is exactly what I envisioned. So I'm loving this. I'm eating this up. But
Oh, it's great.
it's great. I suppose. Oh my god, I completely forgot on the other thing I was going to touch up on. But that was the main thing that I had thought about with that thought experiment. Was like, I guess the first thing that came to my mind was, if he decides in an anarchist society not to pay the wage slave, what is the wage slave going to do? Buy a lawyer with the money he doesn't have?
Yeah.
What is he going to buy?
But what I'm saying is like, well, it would be a contract. So you could go to a court, and also I don't think
Funded by the
you
government.
already have things now where there is people doing things pro bono or even different types of organizations already set up to protect. Like you already have the what's it called?
So is that privatized courts?
And how would they make money?
So how would they? What if
which
the
way
big
are you talking
boy
about? Like,
who
the
didn't pay
organizations?
me?
How
What if he takes the money that he didn't pay me and he gives it to the court to not let me be in the court?
So again, that's what we're going with the market of things. So you already have something now where you would have people already review things, rate things. If there was a court that was like always on the side of the businesses, you wouldn't go to that court. You'd be like, okay, I want to take you to this court, and the business would be like, okay, yes or no, and then or you could just go to them, and instead of going to a court, you have things they already do now, which is civil arbitration. Sit down and you talk about things and you settle it. Or I mean, there's still things that happen now. It's not just a monopoly on a court isn't always a good thing. And I don't think a monopoly on anything is a good thing. So just like what y'all have said, monopolies are bad. But why is monopoly on a court system okay?
Well,
Like,
see,
Hello, welcome to the law firm.
Because
You want poker?
it's not a
It's not okay.
popularity contest.
Again, I'm not trying to side with the lefties here. I think I am a capitalist, but I don't know. I don't think unregulated capitalism in any capacity is good. No,
Lefties.
gross. Go
But you can't.
away.
You also
at-
can't
okay.
say. You also can't say monopolies are bad. But
They
monopolies
are.
are okay. And
They are.
They are.
Yeah, but like, yes, I understand. You can say yes. You can't say monopolies are bad, but these monopolies are okay on this type of thing. So monopolies
I'm
on
not.
a
I'm
government,
saying
monopolies
monopolies in
on
any way is bad.
so monopoly on court is bad. So we should.
Well, wait.
Yes.
Okay, wait. You're doing the Ben Shapiro thing. You're doing the Ben Shapiro thing.
Are you talking to me or
Let's-
Cole?
No, Cole. Let's get back
Let's
to what
say
you were saying.
hypothetically.
No, let's get back to the hypothetical that was raised by Cole. He was saying like, oh, we have all these nowadays we have it where people do like the civil arbitration and all that stuff. Why do people listen to those civil arbitrators? Because there's a bigger force behind it that can enforce it if you don't follow the law. What's
Isn't
gonna make? Go ahead.
The biggest force behind it would be if it's a business, it would be this guy coming out and being like, listen, I'm gonna go to the news and be like, fuck these people, here's what happened to me. And then people, most likely, you already see businesses now that will kowtow to any type of movement. I mean, I'm not saying BLM is bad, but you've seen almost every major company like post support because they want to look good. Why
And
would
who's
that
to say
stop?
that all
But that I
who's
feel
to
like
say
that
all
somewhat
those
plays into
businesses-
like this again, what we mentioned in episode 1, Wayfair, but other things where like big thing comes out about a company that they did something, they did a oopsie daisy, they did a real frick up, and then society's really mad for like 2 weeks to a month, and then
Literally.
nothing really happens and we move on. I feel like nothing really happened with Wayfair.
Yeah,
Something did,
nothing
you can
happens
tell
in
me
the
about
court
it.
system that we have.
And then
nothing
that
happens.
plays back into what we mentioned in the beginning, which the answer from more laissez-faire economists are take stuff more to the economic right, and tankies are more take it to the economic left.
Okay, so you guys brought up Wayfair. I just pulled this up in another tab. That whole Wayfair debacle. When did that happen?
Fuck, I don't
It's
know.
about
like,
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago. So since Tuesday, July 28th, Wayfair stock has skyrocketed from $227 a share to $287 a share. They have faced no market repercussions for their
wait,
actions,
so say
despite
that again?
being
I'm
that's-
sorry, I totally zoned out. It
No.
went from 227 to 287.
yeah, a $60 spike, despite being in the midst of child sex trafficking. So yeah,
Okay, but
capitalism will
but this
definitely
is
punish
something-
them.
Okay, but also you can't just look at the stock market and be like, oh, that's capitalism, because it's not. You've seen this a lot, like where companies do something super bad and their stock goes up, because the stock market has almost changed from a we're going to go on good or bad at how the company's doing to is this company in the news right now? Then people for some reason start buying. It's a super weird and like contradictory thing, but you can see it with almost
And what do
every
you think
company
we can
that's
do to
in trouble.
prevent that?
I think it's a big thing with, I mean, again, government coming in, and I think regulations on the stock market have really hurt the stock market itself, because I think it is a very regulated, and I also just think that it is a culture thing too right now with just how everything is going. People are just, I don't know, in a state of unrest. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, and I'm not going to be able to give an exact solution for it. So I mean but I can say that I do think the government should be out of any type of market. The government should have their hands off. Well, there should be no government, but that's another point.
Right.
So do you
okay.
think that all the companies who've been getting bought out, and like all the ones that like they've been stimulating the market by giving money to companies, is that you say that?
Oh,
that
I
would
hate
also
that.
be bad.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
terrible. Like I don't think again. I think if a company fails, it should fail. Like it's
Mr.
not
Tanky and
it
Mr.
should be propped
Monocle
up.
agree. There you go.
What's that?
Mr. Tanky and Mr. Monocle agree. So this kind of brings up, there was a question I actually had, and that I've had this discussion before. Do you think there should be a hard cap on profit that's able to be made in the United States? And I suppose this question
Yes.
first goes to August. August, do you want to explain why you support that?
I would say so, just because I feel like realistically, my ideology probably wouldn't go as smoothly as I would like to think so in my big brain. So, but in all seriousness, I feel like in like a society, if it was like market based, where like there is profit to be made, I've heard some thought experiments where it's like roughly like between like 250 to 500 million dollars is like somewhere between there is roughly how much somebody's net worth should be allowed to amass before like there is like
Before
someone
we
who
eat
steps in
them?
and says, all right, you've had
Before we
enough.
eat them.
Yeah, but literally, yeah, because I feel like just, and this may be like a big dumb moment, surprise, surprise from the lib left, but I feel like once something has amassed so much value, and of course this isn't with everything, but I feel like the necessities, when they amass so much value, I feel like they're at that point considered essential for life and should be made like just, I don't know, just more public. I feel like if somebody like invented the corona cure tomorrow and it's just like, all right, $20,000 a pop, I spent 2 cents on this, go, you know, that there should
I
just,
think that's a little
it's
hyperbolic. I'm gonna be real with you, but I get what you mean.
So.
Well, yeah, but like
I
those
think-
things are actually happening though.
Not 2 cents in 20,000. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know. As someone
When
who
it's-
plays the. Go
So
ahead.
I think the idea on like freaking the cap on income, or I guess on how much you can make, it's I like the idea for a while. It sounds good in theory. How we can stop people from just getting so much money, and they won't be able to, I guess, just have much more than they need. But okay, when you look at things like, okay, I'm just gonna say Microsoft for example. If they have and if they had a cap, they would have stopped a long time ago. Things like Xbox, they're making more and more types of technology, which is bad, Ooga Booga and Prim. But my point is, they're making more and more just because, they're making more money off of it.
Which you can probably already know what I'm gonna say, and it's no. But
Okay.
I think that it's nice. I think it's like tankyism. I think it's like communism. I think it's
Ooh.
nice in practice. I don't think it's gonna work. In this case, what stops me as a company, or even as a company owner, from picking up my business and taking it somewhere else?
Like leaving
We see
America.
that. We see that. So we
Yeah,
say that
just
with
go
states
over-
leaving America, but even like we see that in states registering your
I
business,
know, like
right?
Sweden had
They're-
like a lot of businesses that just moved because like the business taxes were high.
We see that with Luxembourg, and we also see
Also,
that
doesn't
with,
it, it's also you need to think about
The
more like if you're talking
overpowered
about
country.
like if, a cap. So it would be a cap on profit. Is that what
profit,
you're saying?
not
Not your net
profit,
worth.
not net. I don't think it's necessarily net worth. It's not just raw
Because why? I
revenue.
mean, couldn't
It's
you
after payments out? And that sort of thing.
just show a huge loss every year? Like just just tank. Like so you would be making a profit and then just which you see a lot of them do this already to get around tax laws. Why Amazon? A lot of people say, "Oh, Amazon pays like they paid like 0% in taxes last year." It's like, well, because Amazon also ran at a pretty much even. Like they almost broke even. I think they made like a little bit of profit, but it's because they show a loss because of all the R&D they do, all the things they open up. They put in these losses and it takes it down. So even though they're a
Because they
huge
commit
company,
tax evasion.
Their CEO is set to be a trillionaire by like
Frick
2020.
tax
No,
evasion.
he's
All my homies hate
supposed to have
tax
a
evasion.
it's also his net worth is supposed to be $1 trillion. Like he doesn't have $1 trillion. He probably has like. You can't say he has $1 trillion. Like it's not liquid cash.
I don't.
No, I
know
understand
if
that,
saying
but, like-
Mr. Billionaire is going to be this much worth this much soon, so it's bad. I don't know if that's necessarily a good argument. I think that the biggest issue against hard cap tax, or what are we calling it, hard cap on profit, is picking up and relocating, but also where your business is technically located. And we see that in California, for instance. There are a lot of companies that hate California law. One of the biggest California laws that a lot of them hate is because it decreases revenue and it decreases productivity. One of them is business licenses. I think they're in the thousands in California to get a business license. And I think it needs to be renewed every few years, I believe, but don't quote me on that. And the other one is, which I hate, and I've gone on a rant on the side in the group chat, California requires one woman by law on their board of directors, I think is the official term they use, for each company registered in California. And it's actually going to become 3 by July of 2021. I don't support that. I think it reduces productivity. But also, more importantly, there's the profit idea. So a lot of businesses, because when you require it, it's like I have this really qualified person, but I have this lesser qualified person, but I don't have any women on my board, so I'm going to have to hire this woman.
Well, why don't you already have like a woman or like just anyone? Like, why
If
is
you
that
don't.
something you have to be told?
Well, why? Like, okay,
because
so if all
what
my
if the women-
biggest,
what if
so
the
if we go into
women are
like, and I
qualified?
suppose that my argument is somewhat splitting in two because I'm talking about two different topics at the same time. So to wrap up
those two.
the other one was a lot of businesses are now located in technically Nevada. We are a Nevada business because the business license is $400 and not $2,000. So we are a Nevada business. We have no locations in Nevada. We don't do anything in Nevada. But we go there once a year and we update our business license.
So I want to jump in here real quick. This actually happens with Apple. Apple's headquarters is in Ireland. Because
know that,
Ireland,
actually.
yes, because Ireland's like taxes is like super low. Well, it's actually been a very large thing between the EU and Apple, is because I think other like in America, they got taken to court because of this. They won, so they get to, but is another thing of they try to get away from taxes, so they are based in Ireland.
Tax evasion.
We are a Luxembourg company. Yes, we speak Luxembourg. Oh, what do you mean I'm
Frick,
only getting
Luxembourg
taxed
speaks,
like
like,
1%?
3 different languages.
Luxembourg has 4, I believe. Luxembourg-ish,
Are you sure?
French, German, and I think they also have Flemish.
I have
Frick, you're right.
Luxembourgish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Frick,
it's
is
Luxembourgish.
Luxembourgish an actual language?
Yeah, it is.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty
I
sure
didn't
it
know
is.
I just thought they all
I'm
spoke
pretty
like
sure it
French
is.
and German.
And then
like,
there's French,
Flemish.
German, and Flemish.
Man, who even cares about Europe, dude?
Europe
Like,
is
what the
fucking
frick?
cringe,
Europe,
bro.
man.
Okay,
all of
base
the
lib
different
right,
percent.
base lib right.
Alright, so I think let's see, what time are we at on terms of the recording? I think we just hit an hour again. Yeah, we're at 1 hour and 1 minute. I think this about does it for
Can we get like one more question in? Like one more question.
Oh my fucking god, it's midnight.
Wait, it is.
I think it is midnight for
Yeah.
you guys. It's 10 for me because I'm on Pacific.
It's
We need to
midnight
actually
for me.
record on schedule, but it hasn't worked out. But we'll do it. We'll do it next time. So
I'm
that
sorry
question
that
came
I was
from
crying.
Hugo_Pereira 4. I think it's just supposed to be Hugo Pereira, but with a 4 at the end. Thank you for your question. This has been the Extremists podcast. Thank you for listening again. If you'd like to
Hey,
support
Alex.
us, what?
I'll just say just one thing. Okay, so can you update them on just how the upload schedule works?
Oh yeah, so the upload
update me,
schedule
actually,
is
please.
every Friday at noon, and then throughout the rest of the week, we'll be coming out with clips, more so highlighted parts that people are coming to us and saying, hey, we really like this part, we really like this part, or parts that caused a lot of arguments or caused a lot of uproar in the discussion. We'll be
We had a good one
uploading
today.
those parts. I think we had a really good discussion today. I think it was a lot more. I think it was a lot less echo chambery, and I think it was a lot more targeted attacks on ideology, which I like. Again, this is a casual podcast. Whatever happens, right? Again, thank you for listening to this podcast. Episodes come out Friday at noon. They'll be uploaded a little after that on Spotify, Anchor, those sort of things as they come out. So it'll go up at noon on YouTube, and then it'll be followed up. It should be followed up like within the hour or a few hours on Anchor, Spotify, those sort of platforms. You can
Plug
click
the social medias.
our social medias. You can click the description. If you're on YouTube, you can go to our Instagram at the.extremists. I don't know if links work on Spotify, but if they do, you might be able to see it in the description of our Spotify episodes. Clicking that link, it's a link tree. It leads you to our Instagram, our Discord, our Anchor, our Spotify, and our YouTube.
Everything.
If you want to support us, follow us on everything. Follow us on Instagram, I would say, especially because that's when we give updates, we ask community questions, and we try to interact with the community as much ways as possible.
We also post a lot of clips, so like if you don't want to
We
watch
also do
the
post a lot of
entire
clips, so if you don't want to watch the
podcast-
entire podcast, we upload clips on Instagram. Usually I post them first on Instagram, followed up by YouTube and Spotify. Or
But we
yeah.
So you
definitely
can see
So-
logos
suggest
get
you listen to the
destroyed
whole
on the
So
podcast.
usually they'll come out
Oh,
every
yeah.
other day to every day. It depends on how many good clips there are from each podcast, or how many people are saying, hey, the part where you talked about gays was really interesting. The part where you talked about hard cap on tax was really interesting. So clips come out throughout the week, but we upload the full podcast every Friday at noon. Again, I am Alex. I'm the center position. If you'd like to support us, go ahead and hit that link in the description. Feel free to support us wherever. Again, listen to us on Spotify and Anchor because that's where we make pennies.
The right
And
ones again.
it allows us to
Thought I got in there.
it allows us to continue advertisements and continue growing our podcast. So thank you.
The right ones again.
Gotta sneak that in there.
He didn't get the win last time.
Yeah.
Let him have it.
All right, we're good.